Throughout the summer, Democrats cruelly blocked COVID relief legislation in an effort to advance their extreme left-wing agenda and influence the election. Then, a few months ago, Congress started negotiations on a new package to get urgently needed help to the American people. It's taken forever. However, the bill they are now planning to send back to my desk is much different than anticipated. It really is a disgrace. For example, among the more than 5,000 pages in this bill, which nobody in Congress has read because of its length and complexity, it's called the COVID Relief Bill, but it has almost nothing to do with COVID. This bill contains $85.5 million for assistance to Cambodia, $134 million to Burma, $1.3 billion for Egypt and the Egyptian military, which will go out and buy almost exclusively Russian military equipment. $25 million for democracy and gender programs in Pakistan. $505 million to Belize, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Panama. $40 million for the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., which is not even open for business. $1 billion for the Smithsonian, and an additional $154 million for the National Gallery of Art. Likewise, these facilities are essentially not open. $7 million for reef fish management, $25 million to combat Asian carp, $2.5 million to count the number of amberjack fish in the Gulf of Mexico, a provision to promote the breeding of fish in federal hatcheries, $3 million in poultry production technology, $2 million to research the impact of down trees, $566 million for construction projects at the FBI. The bill also allows stimulus checks for the family members of illegal aliens, allowing them to get up to $1,800 each. This is far more than the Americans are given. Despite all of this wasteful spending and much more, the $900 billion package provides hardworking taxpayers with only $600 each in relief payments. And not enough money is given to small businesses, and in particular restaurants, whose owners have suffered so grievously. They were only given a deduction for others to use in business their restaurant for 2 years. This 2-year period must be withdrawn, which will allow the owners to obtain financing and get their restaurants back in condition. Congress can terminate it at a much later date, but 2 years is not acceptable. It's not enough. Congress found plenty of money for foreign countries, lobbyists, and special interests, while sending the bare minimum to the American people who need it. It wasn't their fault. It was China's fault, not their fault. I am asking Congress to amend this bill and increase the ridiculously low $600 to $2,000 or $4,000 for a couple. I'm also asking Congress to immediately get rid of the wasteful and unnecessary items from this legislation and to send me a suitable bill, or else the next administration will have to deliver a COVID relief package, and maybe that administration will be me, and we will get it done. Thank you very much.
There's no maybe, but what's this maybe? No maybe about it. If the start of your second term, Mr. President, starts now, and that's with a big veto. Get in their grill, tell Mitch, Nancy, and Schumer, they've already cut a deal with Biden. Tell them, hey, guess what? Real simple. $2,000 per American citizen, zero for the swamp. Give me a clean bill. When I say clean bill, how about like on a one piece of paper? I'll sign that. That cash goes to the American people. We're live from the nation's capital. That nation's the the United States of the Federal Reserve. The reason I say that is now the Federal Reserve's balance sheet is starting to blow up because of the CCP virus. We need to start holding the Chinese Communist Party accountable. What do I mean by that? Freeze their assets in the United States of America. Freeze them out of these capital markets. Start seizing their assets and pay the American people from the Chinese Communist Party what's been taken from them. You're in the war room. It's the 23rd of December, the year of our Lord 2020, the number one podcast, political podcast in the nation now with 25 million downloads. I think we're on a clip right now to do like 6 million a month. John Fredericks Radio Network, wide, Real America's Voice. We really want to thank the team in Denver. Most shows are shut down over the holidays. We're working every day of this holiday. There's no day. We're in a war. You don't take off time. In fact, tomorrow or on Friday, Christmas Day, we're doing the combat history of Christmas. Patrick K. O'Donnell, Jack Maxey, Stephen K. Bannon. Do not miss that. It's about the men and women of our armed forces that have given their all on foreign battlefields. And here in the United States, we do the darkest winter in American history, 6 months after the signing of a declaration, 1776. The forced crossing of the Delaware, Christmas night in the middle of a horrific storm. We also do the Battle of the Bulge in the Hurricane Forest, the Christmas of 1944, and we do the Chosin Reservoir in Korea and others. Very proud of that show and really want to thank the guys in Denver for doing it. Okay, I want to turn now to Boris Epshteyn. Boris, for everybody out there in the audience, we had to play that again because the president made this the other day. It is such a bang, bang, bangs. He deconstructs the entire problem, the entire bill. Boris, how did you guys conceive that? How did the White House conceive it? And what's going to happen now? We're going to have Navarro on right after you. But what's going to happen with this bill? Do you think the president's going to veto it?
Steve, the president was pretty clear. Great to be with you. And twice in one day, it's a twofer for those who are smart enough to be listening in the morning and in the early evening hours. The president was very clear. He said that he's not accepting this bill. He is not accepting the paltry $600 per person that Congress decided to dole out while doling out millions and billions to everything from the Kennedy Center to Pakistani gender studies to countries all over the world to God knows what else. What the bottom line is that this bill should have been done months and months and months ago, but Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats admittedly stalled it because they did not want to give, quote unquote, President Trump a victory. But the real honest meaning there is they did not want to help the American people because the Democrats are against the better welfare of this country. They want businesses to be closed. They want people to stay at home. And they don't want America back and burgeoning and booming as it's starting to now and will under the second term of President Trump.
The president has a term called wise guy. The guy's being a wise guy. Right now, the Democrats all pile in. They pick up on the 2,000, but they don't talk about the spending. They go, yeah, 2,000, 2,000, 2,000, but they didn't really listen to the president. The president's saying, hey, I don't know if I want the net bill to be any bigger, but I want cash to go to the American people. I want cash to American citizens, but I essentially want a clean bill, which means I want to zero all this other stuff out. If it's not directly COVID related, if it's not directly CCP virus, and what I mean by that, if it doesn't deal with the drop in aggregate demand that we had, then that's for another day, right? And I think he's got problems with appropriations. They try to be cute by making it part of one bill, right? Daring him to veto it because the government's going to run out of money. What would be your recommendation? If you were in the Oval with the president or going down to Mar-a-Lago with him, what would be your recommendation? Since this kicks off, we got 28-day bonus period here in the second term. What would be your recommendation to him?
My recommendation is go to zero on everything that is not money directly for American businesses and the American people or directed aid to get to the American people, American businesses who are suffering from COVID. If it's for more medical research and ensuring that the vaccines are proper and are working, good. If it's more PPE for hospitals, good. If it's loans to small businesses to stay open, good. If it's money to the American people, good. Money to Nepal, money to Burma, money to Cambodia, money to Pakistan, money to Sudan, money to the Biden favorite Ukraine, money to Egypt, money to the Kennedy Center, money to the Smithsonian, not good. Not good. Okay? Take every dollar that is not being spent to keep Americans alive and to keep America prospering and zero it out in this bill. If the Democrats want to put that pork somewhere else, they can feel free to try. But the Democrats are doing the same thing we know they've been doing for decades, but specifically tied to COVID. They're using it as an opportunity to push their agenda. They used COVID to pass all these ludicrous rules and regulations around mail-in balloting, which is how they stole this election or tried to steal this election. And they're using COVID to give money to some of their best friends in America and all over the world, who frankly should not come before the American people who are suffering.
You know, we've seen President Trump's been a tower of strength. That's why people rallied to him. We've seen around the country, Republicans. I want to say something. People are, Bannon keeps saying the GOP, not going to say this. I'm trying to highlight what the issue is. I'm trying to highlight that, remember, your money, your time, you rang doorbells, the audience, you knocked on doors. That's what you paid for. That's the party you paid for. And look what's happened to him. Besides President Trump, and some people are rallying to him because they understand the Constitution's at risk and the Republic's at risk. You don't see a lot of profiles encouraging this. I'm going to go today, and I think it was, Jack, was there 100,000 people? There's something like 180,000 people online in streaming services and on Zoom, besides our program, because we didn't cover it live, we commented on it. There's 180,000 people watching a House of Delegates hearing in Georgia. And so how did you think it went, Boris?
I got a lot of takeaways from Georgia. It was actually a robust hearing. The Secretary of State was on record, the authority figures on record, saying that they will work with an independent audit of Coffee County, said that he is, quote unquote, receptive, not enough, to a true audit statewide, and that was under direct questioning, but that's not enough. Here's the big thing that came out, that the claims and the lawsuit, a robust lawsuit, the gangbusters lawsuit we've been talking about, with over 400,000 alleged unlawful ballots, the Secretary of State admitted to claims in there, admitted to 8,000 out-of-state voters, did not dispute most of the 15,700 unlawful voters, admitted to 74 felons who voted. So those are the key parts, is that you had the Secretary of State Raffensperger there in the hearing admitting to what the Trump campaign has been claiming in its lawsuit in terms of voter fraud and election fraud in Georgia. That was very vital. We're working right now to publicize that as much as possible.
Okay, I'll tell you what, Boris, can we have you hang over for 1 second? We'll take a short commercial break, and then we'll return. Boris, I'll tell you what, give us, to speed it up, because I know you got to jump when we're in the next segment. Give us your Twitter handle and your Instagram right now.
No doubt about it. I posted a great picture earlier of me and the president. Instagram, Boris_Epshteyn, Boris_EPSHTEYN. Twitter, @BorisEP. Parlor, @Boris. Steve, thanks so much. I'll hang on if you need me.
Yeah,
otherwise,
hang on.
God bless him.
No, hang on. I got a couple more questions, and Peter Navarro is going to join us about the stimulus bill. War and pandemic. Stephen K. Bannon, Greg Mans, Jack Max will be back in a moment.
War Room with Stephen K. Bannon. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, welcome back to the War Room. Our guest is Boris Epshteyn, the Rudy Giuliani's right-hand man on the legal team. So how are we going to force a special session? Obviously, in Pennsylvania, you had the lunch today. We'll get to that later. Not exactly. I think the president was not exactly thrilled about that. You've got Georgia. You got Arizona. Even if you go to the Supreme Court, the remedy's not going to be, cancel all the Biden votes or flip it to Trump. It's going to be go back to the state assemblies. So how are we going? What's the forcing function, Boris Epshteyn? You're the head of the execution department over there. What's the forcing function you're going to use to get a special session in Georgia and Arizona?
Well, Steve, just got some breaking news out of Arizona. Now, this is not fully confirmed yet, but I am being told that legislators in Arizona are looking to have the sergeant of arms, and I'm just sergeant at arms, enforce the subpoena today on the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors.
Hold it. Slow down. You mean they're using the sergeant at arms for the state legislature? They're finally getting fired up and have him go enforce this subpoena that the Maricopa County, that's controlled by the Republican Party, that was in the room and negotiated the thing to begin with last week, that came back and said, screw you, we're not going to send this over. You're saying they're going to send the sergeant at arms over and enforce the subpoena?
That is a report, unconfirmed as of yet. That is a report I'm getting out of Arizona in real time. And it is my job. I cannot not relay that to you, right? If I had kept that to myself, I would feel like I'm holding out on my good friend Steve Bannon and on the MAGA brain trust that is the War Room pandemic viewers and listeners.
As we say in the War Room, it's too good. As we say in the War Room, it's too good to check. So what has finally brought that on? This is the frustration. I think you got people here that saying, hey, we don't need Insurrection Act because these are all Republicans that we gave money to and worked for and rang doorbells for, and there's Republican governors and lieutenant governors and secretary of states, and all the legislatures except for Nevada in all these states are Republican controlled, both houses. That's what people are getting frustrated about. So finally you think you've hit the tipping point in Arizona.
That is what I believe. That is what I'm hearing right now, that the legislators on the ground are saying the sergeant at arms is going to enforce the subpoena. And by the way, let me remind you, when I was on this great show on Friday, when this was all happening, I said, if you look at how the U.S. Congress works, if a congressional subpoena is ignored, and when the Russia hoax was happening, they were threatening all of us with this. They were threatening you. They were threatening me, all of us, saying, well, if you don't respect the subpoena, we're going to send the Capitol Police after you. In Arizona, that parallel is the sergeant at arms. So, and I've done that research. I've had people on the ground do that research for me. So that is what's happening in Arizona. That is what we're hearing now. There may be some court movements to quash it. There may be something else. But to your listeners, your viewers, that is under serious discussion right now. To the Grunduans in the engine room, I hope you're getting excited because I'm excited, okay? This is a big deal. And even the move toward this, it shows that the legislators in Arizona are not messing around. I would use a different word before the word around, but this is still a PG-13 show. Okay. But everybody knows what I'm talking about.
But Boris, in Wisconsin, you've got the investigators in your team doing the social media search for the indefinitely confined, where we think there's over 100,000, maybe 150,000. In Georgia, you are doing a forensic audit. The chief of staff for the president and the White House flew down there yesterday, I think with the Secret Service, the FBI, or some contingent. And you're fighting this subpoena. They're fighting a subpoena where you're asking for a forensic audit in Maricopa County. What's the status? Those are things on the ground that are happening even as we speak that the mainstream media won't cover. Give our audience what exactly is happening. What are the details? Are we making progress in Wisconsin? When do you think they're going to report back to you? What is the status? I heard they try to blow Meadows off. What's the status down in Georgia? And what's our status in Arizona once we get the subpoena enforced? What are you guys going to do?
Once the subpoena is enforced, or the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors agrees to turn over the information in Arizona, those machines are going to be inspected, and it will be determined what, if anything, was wrongful about the machines and the way they were used in Maricopa County. In Wisconsin, the count continues. I'm getting information hour by hour. Now, keep in mind, the numbers we are going to turn up are just going to be a sample, right? It has to be the Wisconsin State Legislature with subpoena power that then gets all of the information on all the indefinitely confined and says, okay, here's how many we know for a fact are unlawful. But we're going to provide enough of evidence of unlawful use of indefinitely confined based on a path laid out by the Wisconsin State Supreme Court, which said you could not use COVID-19 as an excuse to claim indefinite confinement. We're going to provide enough evidence for the Wisconsin State Legislature to effectively be forced to have no option but to investigate this further. That's Wisconsin. In Georgia, you're right, the state audit continues. The Secretary of State today committed to it being a true and a real audit, and for the signature matching not to just be something he says, but to be something that's actually done and conducted. And we are going to continue to monitor that extremely closely.
Do we have enough time for this? I thought that on the 6th, everybody shows up, they're all counted, people move on, and then they get ready for the inauguration on the 20th. We've said the Constitution only talks about the 20th, and hey, even the worst thing that happened there, if we continue to fight this, is Nancy Pelosi's acting president until either Biden or Trump are Trump's victories confirmed, or the Biden steal takes place. YouTube, I understand he's the official selectee of for through the Electoral College and also for the safe harbor. And I want to make sure you got underneath that the Warren Commission was the official report in the Kennedy assassination. Boris, do you guys have enough time?
We have plenty of time. January 6th is the first date that has any meaning. By the way, the other dates to which the Democrats give a lot of meaning to were, let's go in order, first December 8th, then December 14th, then December 23rd, which is actually today. But guess what? None of the mainstream media are talking about it because even they now understand, with whatever amoeba of IQ they have, that these dates don't actually matter. That what matters is January 6th, and then the real date is January 20th, but the Constitution allows for a procedure in case the correct president is not selected by then based on the most electoral votes, which are based on the most legal votes. There is a process for that under the United States Constitution. And let me remind you, in 1876, Hayes-Tilden, that election was not decided up until I think of just a few days before the inauguration, which was back then in March.
Yeah, I think it was actually a couple hours. Okay, Boris, how do people, once again, give me your Instagram, give me your Twitter and Parler.
Steve, I got to tell you, thanks in a lot of ways to you and your viewers and your listeners. I'm probably the biggest Instagram rocket ship star out there right now, and I'm pretty proud of it. I got to tell you, I'm pretty proud. Boris_Epshteyn, Boris_EPSHTEYN. Follow me on Instagram. Tell all your friends about it. We're having a lot of fun. At Boris EP on Twitter. A ton of information coming out every day. At Boris on Parler. Boris_Epshteyn on Instagram. At Boris EP on Twitter. At Boris on Parler.
Fight on, Boris Epshteyn. Now I want to pivot.
Thanks, Steve, so much. God bless and rock and roll.
Thank you, brother. Okay, now I want to pivot to the Assistant to the President, Peter Navarro, for Trade and Manufacture. Dr. Navarro, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here loud and clear, sir.
Okay, I want to go through a punch list here before we start talking about the Immaculate Deception, your amazing report that's really turned, I think, this thing around. That's why you're seeing things in Georgia. That's why you're seeing people all over the country talk about this and talk about holding their elected officials in these state legislatures accountable because they're looking at your report and they're going, my God, I didn't know this. CNN tells me there's no evidence and that this is all, Trump and his dead enders craziness. They're all lunatics. So I want to go back to the defense bill, the NDAA. That seems to have gotten lost in the noise here. I thought I remembered, didn't the president throw down and say Section 230 and a couple of other items, and if you have them in there, starting my second term, I'm not going to approve it. I think that everything the president said he didn't want in there is actually in there. So where do we stand with the defense bill?
The president said, no way am I going to approve this. He is acting like he should, which is entering his second term here. Here's the thing, Steve. There's one thing that's not in there that's unforgivable, and there's one thing in there from a deplorable economic nationalist point of view that's unforgivable. Let me start with that, okay? So, you can't make this stuff up. They put in this NDAA the ability to restrict the President of the United States from his ability to withdraw troops from Afghanistan, Germany, and South Korea. Just crazy. Absolutely crazy. That's like the globalist dream, Steve. I mean, you cannot sign that just on this alone. The second big issue, of course, is this 230. What's that all about? We are stuck now with a censoring social media, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, they're out of control the way they are exercising their point of view on the American public. And the only way to hold them accountable is to take away their Section 230 protection.
Peter,
not in there.
Peter, hang on. I want a deeper conversation on all this. We have the Assistant to the President, Peter Navarro, for Trade and Manufacturing. He's also the author of this stunning report called The Immaculate Deception. We're going to take a short commercial break. We're going to return with Peter Navarro in just a second.
War Room with Stephen K. Bannon. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, here's what we're doing here. We got the second term of President Trump, and we're trying to set things right and also close on this massive landslide he won on November 3rd by making sure we only count legal votes. And we're fighting on many fronts. You saw today, I think 180,000 people online between the Epoch Times, Real America's Voice, others, streaming services, Right Side News. I think everybody had this thing on. 180,000 people watching a House hearing in Georgia.
Well, that was only on one platform. YouTube had 3 or 4 different streamings, and each one had 10 or 15,000.
These folks got to make. You're not going to be able to hide anymore. We're going to get to Pennsylvania in a minute. You're not going to be able to hide. Okay, we're going to make you either heroes or zeros, right? And all we're going to do is let the facts speak for themselves. But you can't hide anymore. This is this is an inflection point in American history. You got to stand up. If you're not going to stand up, that's fine, but you're going to be exposed. You're not going to be able to slide away. You're not going to be able to slink away. All the summer soldiers and sunshine patriots out there, you're going to be exposed because we're in a fourth turning and we need people to stand up, stand and deliver. One person has stood and delivered since, 2015. Actually, he wrote the book. This is a great thing about Navarro. He wrote the book, The Coming China War, in 2006. He was laughed and ridiculed. This guy's just a crazy guy, doesn't like China, doesn't like the CCP. 14 years later, it reads like you see on the front page of the Financial Times. Peter Navarro, Dr. Peter Navarro from Harvard, the president's assistant to the president. So, Peter, the National Defense Authorization Act, they're already challenging the president about his ability as commander-in-chief of the armed forces to withdraw forces, right? Particularly in some of these policing activities, undeclared wars like in Afghanistan, to withdraw. This is the globalists. They don't want to have an America First national security policy. As importantly is Section 230. So explain to people what 230 is and why do you have 230, Section 230 in the Defense Authorization Act?
Okay, let me just say on this globalist endless war BS in the NDAA, that is criminal. These people still want American bloodshed in places where the president wants to pull those troops out. That's shame on them. Anyway, let's talk about 230. See, the Telecommunications Act of 1996 effectively provided immunity for social media from prosecution for things like libel. Now, the idea was that they were just going to be bulletin boards for people to be able to post content. And so the fact that they were immune from prosecution dictates that they have a very, very light hand, that they censor virtually nothing unless it's like the fire in a crowded theater stuff, right? So what's happened now is they hide behind this 230 immunity, yet we've seen, particularly leading up to the election and in the aftermath of the investigations of the Hunter laptop from hell or the election fraud, the heaviest hand. I mean, deplatforming the New York Post, deplatforming Bannon's War Room, taking down news segments on Fox.
Hold it. The worst thing. Hold it. Hang on. As much as the New York Post and Bannon's War Room and all this stuff, that's one thing. They're putting a warning on the President of the United States' tweet. They're taking down his tweets. He's commander-in-chief of the armed forces. He's the chief magistrate of this country.
As fast as he puts them up. And I put some up yesterday, and within a nanosecond, there was a warning on it, and it was like there wasn't a human that did that. These were what they call bots, Steve. These are like kind of things that the Chinese communists have perfected for their great firewall, where they scrub and screen words that come up there, and as soon as they see it, boom, boom, get it. I mean, this is out of control, and the fact that the president took a principled stand on this NDAA and said, hey, I'm not signing this because you want global and endless wars, and you won't do anything about these social media censorship.
Hang on. So hold it. Hang on. So look, I got to get through because I got to get to Georgia and the fiasco down there. I got to ask you: is he going to veto the end? In your mind, is he going to veto the NDAA? Yes or no?
He already said he's not going to sign it. I think you're asking a separate question here on the stimulus and relief.
No, I'm going to get to that, but are you sure? Because he says he's not going to sign it. Is he going to veto? It's a difference between I'm not going to sign it, I'm a pocket veto it, wander around. Is he going to veto the NDAA as a show of strength for his second term?
I am returning without my approval. So I can't imagine him signing.
Look, the
thing about it is.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
And the stimulus and authorization, and now I know why they got in trouble with you on TV, keeping you corralled. You're slippery. On the stimulus. You're well trained. You think you're media trained by Bannon? Hold it.
I learned from Bannon.
Hey, on the stimulus and the appropriations bill.
Yeah.
$2.4 trillion in the American people's face. Is he going to veto this?
I think he's very signaling that's exactly what he's going to do. But let's think about this, Steve. I mean, let's understand the history here, right? The history is that we should have had a $2 trillion package that did a couple of things. One, it gave money to the unemployed. Two, it put money in the pockets of every American. And three, most importantly, more PPE for the small businesses that are dropping like friggin' flies, right? And the last thing that we had a $2 trillion package, and a full $1 trillion of that was going to bring all our manufacturing home, buy American, hire American, pure Trump economic nationalism, right?
A thing of
beauty. That was on the table months before there, and all Pelosi did was duck and hide and jerk us around and basically punish American workers, people who are like facing a foreclosure and eviction, so that Donald Trump couldn't have a win before Election Day, right? And now what do? Doubling down, it's even worse. They're coming up with a 5,000-page garbage bill that does everything for everybody who doesn't need it, okay? And the president has said, okay. He wants $2,000 for every American citizen and not a penny for the swamp.
I love that.
Not a penny
I love that.
for the swamp, Steve.
Okay, listen, we're going to have to get to you tomorrow on Immaculate Conception because I'm generous for time. But just one last question. Didn't you have a Secretary of Defense or Secretary of Treasury that was involved in any of the negotiations here? These things kind of just drop out of the air, fully formed. The president should be outraged at this, and I am a strong advocate. He should veto him hard and veto him today and tell him, hey, come back to me with something clean. But where were the Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of Treasury in this process?
Defense on the NDAA, I don't know what the involvement there, but look, come on. Steve Mnuchin was supposed to be the guy to negotiate Pelosi. It didn't happen. Connect the dots, okay?
Okay, fine.
Connect the dots.
How do you get to your Twitter?
Right.
How do they get to your Twitter feed? What's your
Now I got a jackpot for you listeners.
Okay.
See who can put me over 100K for my Twitter followers.
I will do that.
Real P. Navarro. I'm just about there.
Yep.
I'm a million behind you guys, but you know what the heck? That's a milestone.
But you're a lot ahead of us. We've been banned permanently. That's okay. Okay, but Peter Navarro, I want everybody.
That's right.
I want everybody in the. Not that I'm looking at Section 230 and licking my chops. No. Okay, so I want everybody in the posse here to sign up for Navarro. Peter, thank you very much. I appreciate it, Dr. Navarro. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, we'll talk to you tomorrow morning. You're a patriot, sir.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I want to turn now to, you got some breaking news there? Greg Mansley's on the trigger. I got to get John Fredericks in.
Yeah.
What? Give it to me. Go ahead.
Well, this guy Alman, who we ripped apart this morning.
Yes, Senator Alman.
Oh, just this afternoon. Today, I intend to notify Representative Metcalf's office that I wish to sign on to his petition calling for a special session on election issues.
Folks,
That's the power
this is
of
the power
our
of this
audience.
audience. You fired this guy, was too busy, he disrespected the President of the United States. I'm too busy to come down and have lunch with you. And now he's signing up. Yes, sir, no, sir, three
He
bags
says,
full,
let
sir.
me be very clear. Your anger is not only justified, I share it.
That's what I was licking my chops at.
I got to tell you, I'm so proud. Listen, all we're here is just to let you have the information. You guys run with it. The most powerful audience in all media, and we're going to get some special sessions. So I want to turn now to John Fredericks. We forced them to have hearings, John. Boris said, hey, you got all these claims they admitted to. The lawyers are all happy. They're running around. You're a man of the people. What say you?
The dam is now breaking. The hearing in Georgia today was a complete sham. It was a check the box. We did that. Let's all go home. Have a Merry Christmas. Thank you for your time. And thank you, Brad Raffensperger, for serving the people of Georgia and basically allowing the Democrats to steal the election. This was a this was a clown car today. A waste of time. 200,000 people tuned into this thing. Here's the bottom line of this, Steve. The hearing was a joke. But in the past, you could have joke hearings, and the Atlanta Journal-Constitution or the New York Times would compliment you on a great hearing and how fair it was. Now, you got 200,000 people tuning in. They're done. The gig is up. They can no longer do this. The movement is eclipsed its leaders. I'm going to say that every time I'm on the show because it is over, Steve. They cannot continue to do this. They're all going to be held accountable. The box checking days are over. Trump wants action. He got action. We want action. Absolutely nothing came out of this hearing. Here's the toughest question they asked Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger today. You ready? Are you sitting on the edge of your seat? Mr. Secretary of State, would you like a cold soft drink or a hot cup of coffee? Are you comfortable in your chair? That was the toughest question. They asked nothing. There's no action. They'll do nothing. Hey, but they had a hearing, Steve, and they can go to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and they can all run on the Eric Erickson, the empty suit, Never Trumper show, and say they had a hearing, and there's nothing there. And they ask tough questions, like, what are you doing to fix it? Well, there's a lot of different things we're doing. Great. Thank you for your time. Merry Christmas.
Here's one thing.
Complete and utter joke.
If you can stay through the break, but I got to ask you one question. We got about a minute 30.
Of course.
When does the Secretary of State show up for a thing? And he brings his lawyer, and his lawyer answers 2/3 of the questions. What planet are we on? The guy brings his lawyer. He can't answer questions directly by the elected officials.
Who was totally incompetent because he didn't have the answers, because this is a fraudulent election that they're trying to sidestep and run out the clock. Steve, it's over. You know what? I don't know what's going to happen on January 20th, but here's what I do know what's going to happen. These Republican officials are going to be held accountable. You are going to see a reshaping, a reawakening, a reformatting of media and politics going forward.
John,
because people are done with this.
John, hang
on.
Hang on for 1 second. Stay with the break. We're taking a short break. 200,000 people watching live a hearing in the House in Georgia. We're in return with Made It All Happen next.
Stephen K. Bannon. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, as a programming note, tomorrow we're going to have a boy, that little jump there. It's got to let it down, guys. Okay, tomorrow, Christmas Eve special, going to be live. Tons of breaking news. We're going to have interviews from all over. President, I think, is left for Mar-a-Lago to take a couple of days off for Christmas, but we're working here. I know he's working there. We're going to have a lot of breaking news, but we've got some very special parts of that. So you got to, if you're driving around tomorrow, you're getting, Christmas dinner ready, and you're getting your last gifts and all that. Make sure you listen 10 a.m. to noon, the Christmas Eve special. Tons of guests to get up on this fight, but also to start to honor the men and women in our armed services who have fought since the beginning of this country. And then on Christmas Day, a tradition we do every year, and we've got Patrick K. O'Donnell, the great combat historian, joining Jack Maxey and myself. The combat history of Christmas, from the darkest days of 1776 to the 1944 Battle of the Bulge in Hurtgen Forest, and, of course, the Chosin Reservoir in the Korean War, 3 of those, and much more. But the combat history of Christmas, to see the sacrifice that goes on during this holiest time in the Christian calendar. Also tomorrow got a fantastic rabbi to walk us through Hanukkah and some great Hanukkah music. It's going to be terrific. The Christmas Eve special tomorrow, 10 to noon. Christmas Day special, 10 to noon. And then the Boxing Day special on Saturday with Raheem Gassam. So a lot going on. I want to turn now. Early in the day, we put the light on this really week this week. And by the way, the Pennsylvania establishment should be ashamed of themselves. Bob Asher, you crew, it's revolting. You haven't had any spine to step up here and to fight for what's right, to fight for the Constitution and to fight for the Republic with all this nonsense is going on. Everything that you guys allowed, remember, you guys allowed this all to happen with cutting a deal with this radical Democratic running the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. The House and the Senate should be ashamed of themselves, and you're seeing patriots stand up. And where you don't stand up, we're going to put the light on you and let your words speak for yourself. What happened to this guy, the state senator?
Yep. So a new statement has been released by State Senator Ryan Almond titled Almond's Statement on Metcalf Petition for Special Session. And I think they redlined it. It should have been read damage control at the beginning. But he mentions how
Greg Mann's the world's nicest guy. Just put the knife in somebody.
Once Pennsylvania politics comes at the forefront. He goes on to say that he's received thousands of calls
from
his constituents
from this show
over the course of the period where the election has been in questions. And
50,000 today.
50,000. Hold it. This is a guy that put a thing, hey, I'm too busy. I can't go and see the president. I got stuff to do, and it's not worth it anyway. It's not worth my trip from the long drive from Lancaster to D.C. He got lit up.
I really want to say one thing, though. He's starting to sound like one of Trump's lawyers. He goes through the following is indisputable. I won't read all of them, but he says PA Supreme Court mandated ballots received without postmarks would be presumed to receive on time.
Hey, Senator, we got all that. No, you got to start listening to the War Room. The president understands that, too. That's why he wanted to have you down for some Christmas pudding and a cup of coffee. Didn't you think you owed it to him to go down and hear what the commander-in-chief thinks?
Here his last thing was discrepancies exist between the SURE system, the official voter record in Pennsylvania as established by statute, and the final certified vote for president. The vote in Pennsylvania should not have been certified prior to the reconciliation of this discrepancy.
Boom. I would have liked to have had that earlier today, but I'll take it now. You know what I hear? I hear the sound of a steel spine being inserted into a state senator down there in Lancaster. Yes,
it would have been nice if he had said that to President Trump in person today.
Thank you very much, Greg Mans. Boy, when you got to go pretty far in the forest to hit Greg Mans' tripwire, but man, when you do, he turns. Okay, I want to go back to John Fredericks. When are we going to start doing this down in Georgia? You had 200,000 patriots, folks, taking time away from their Christmas. They could be doing all kind of stuff. What are they doing? They're watching and hearing and getting angrier down there in Georgia. What are we to do, Mr. John Fredericks?
There's a reshaping of media and politics across the country by the movement, by the deplorables movement. The epicenter is Georgia, but it's sweeping the country. There's going to be a major disruption, like something you've never seen. It's going to make the Tea Party look like child's play. Let me tell you what happened today. A couple things. Number one of the biggest supporters of Brian Kemp is a representative in Beaufort, Georgia, Republican by the name of David Clark. Representative Clark ran Kemp, Veterans for Kemp. He's a veteran, saw combat duty, very active. Kemp supporter from day one. Tweeted out today, came on my show and tweeted out, I'm done. You call a special session on Tuesday or I'm backing a primary opponent of you. Now the dam is breaking. Now we're getting politicians with Kemp who are done with him. That's number one thing that happened. Here's the second thing that happened today. Steve, 2 polls come out which showed exactly what you and I talked about a month ago based on what we saw on the ground. I've been in Georgia for 6 weeks, 25 cities. It is what it is. 1,000 phone calls. Here's what it is. Purdue and Loeffler are both down by 7. You add in the fraud, they're down by 9. This is now turning into a catastrophe in Georgia. This is not even going to be a close race. They're about to get swamped. Here's what they need to do right now. Time is running out. You're in the 4th quarter. You're down by 8. You need a touchdown and a 2 conversion. You're 4th and 10 on your own 50. You got to do something. If you go down the same path, Karl Rove buys another yacht, and you lose the Senate, and he laughs. Here's what you have to do. Very clear. 3 things. Purdue and Loeffler have to call for a special prosecutor right now, call for that right now, and say, vote us in, and we will vote to not have him get fired to investigate this election. Number 2 thing they have to do to have a shot to win, very clear, is they have to say, look, in a press conference, that you vote us in, and Kelly Loeffler on January 6th is going to vote with Jody Heiss.
Yep.
She's going to vote against seating these electors in Georgia because she's seen enough of the fraud. That's what she has to do. The only way they win now, Steve.
Hold it. Last thing, John.
Turnout on game day.
Yeah, last thing, we got to bounce. But last thing, they've also got to call for a special session today. Correct?
Today, and that can be done in 2 ways. The governor can call.
I tell you what, John, we're out of time. We're going to pick it. We're going to pick it back. We're going to pick it back up. We're going to pick it back up tomorrow. John Fredericks down in Georgia, who's decamped to take his whole business down there. It's now the hottest thing in radio in Georgia. Okay, tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. The Christmas Eve special. We're going to have tons of news and newsbreakers. Going to break some big news tomorrow, too, so make sure you tune in at 10 a.m. See you then.